Hey, kid. Yeah, I see you right there. Don't move. Don't move, man. Look, I know I got this big boy bat, but I ain't gonna hurt you with it. I actually got a bit of a secret to tell you. See, there's this currently new drug called depressants, you know. We're calling it extra because it makes you feel extra stupid when you use it. So, you want a hit, bro? You're gonna have to pay in cold hard cash. And I just want to let you know what happens to people who don't pay in cash. You see your boy Jimmy. Jimmy's a great kid. Great kid. Didn't pay. He just didn't pay. So, bro, give me cash. But I don't have to break your kneecaps because I know you're gonna pay for this stuff. Wait, you don't got that money on you? Well, then we're gonna have a problem, Buster.
Hey man, I'm back, man. Yeah, so it turns out I'm actually an interstellar demon god person, man. It's really good to see you guys again. Anyway, I wanted to continue on with our review from earlier. After all, it was so rudely interrupted by a sword.
Hi again. That's right, everybody. I promised there'd be a part 3. It really is quite a shame. I was only hoping for a 2-parter, and then characters took about 15 minutes because characters, and I like to complain. So how have you all been? You should really pull up a seat and grab some popcorn. I should have said that last video. I'm actually sure this one won't take very long.
Oh, I can't believe we're almost done with this. Characters took forever, Jesus Christ. Anyway, here's his next point. The story is nothing special, although it decides to condone eco-terrorism and make the main villain, which is spelled wrong, need a patsy in order to have any definite power. It basically is this. Bad company poisons the world. Captain Planet and his crew come to save the day. Then, main character cross-dresses. Then more Captain Planeting, until the story basically whittles down to 2 almighty balls fetch quests spanning many hours, meaningless exposition on what is already a cringe-worthy cast, and a bad Freudian element implementation. Then, apotheosis, followed by battling inside a person's brain against someone you just killed. Then, sequel.
Alright, so I'm not even going to touch the part where he says the story's nothing special. I mean, it is his opinion, so I'm not going to mess with that. However, I am going to touch upon the part where he says we condone eco-terrorism in that game. I'm sorry, what? Sure, yeah, you play as eco-terrorists for a time, but that's because the planet is being poisoned by Shinra, and it's not condoning anything. That's really stupid. That's like saying you're playing Grand Theft Auto and it's condoning rape and murder and stealing cars. That's really dumb. You're sounding like the White House. No, seriously, this dude baffles me. If you claim yourself to be a gamer, then you'd understand that all of it is fiction and it doesn't support any of this. That's like saying, hi, I own a copy of the Hunger Games and I read it, and it condones putting children in an arena and forcing them to fight to the death until only one remains. What do you have to say about this, John?
Well, I suggest you read a totally real book that has absolutely no poisoning, maiming, or killing in it called the Holy Bible.
Oh no. Well, that book done got that.
But this is actually a good point. Why do people seem to think that video games are the cause of all this detrimental behavior that people have? I mean, it's kind of dumb. Movies have been violent, books have been violent, the Bible is violent. Why are you attacking video games? It's a relatively new medium, that's why, and people are afraid of what isn't new to, well, what is new to them. They're afraid of foreign concepts, so they retaliate the only way they know how, by retaliating. And I don't think this person is afraid of video games in any way. I'm actually positive they do play video games. Just play them really stupidly. Alright, so the next part I want to talk about is the part where he brings up Cloud cross-dressing. Yeah. He brought it up for shock value purely, but I'll cover it right here. Cloud cross-dresses as a girl in order to get Tifa out of a mansion of a perverted old man. Good for you, Cloud. He also brings up a patsy, and I'm not going to spoil who that is because unlike, part 2, which had all the spoilers, this has none of them. So I just want to say that it's a pretty big shock, actually, when it happens. You're not expecting it, even though the game's been out for 20 years. If you've managed to avoid most spoilers, other than the really I think you deserve to have that special moment to yourself. It's really cool and really interesting, especially when it comes into play later in the game. So, I don't know why he's complaining about this. Alright, so now we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, really, and that's the 2 holy balls that is the fetch quest. So yes, from a certain point of view, you can look at the endgame of Final Fantasy VII as a fetch quest. Essentially, about halfway through the game, it is revealed that you're looking for 2 types of materia, one called Holy and one called Meteor. Sephiroth is looking for Meteor so he can destroy Gaia and remake it in his image, while you're looking for Holy, which is supposedly the only thing that can stop Meteor. That's a pretty cool sounding fetch quest, if I say so myself. To be honest, I don't know why he's complaining about this. It never really feels like a fetch quest, as the fetch quest is just sort of a backdrop to the rest of the game, so don't complain about what isn't necessary to complain about.
Now, the next point he mentions here is the climax that happens in Sephiroth's brain. He complains and says that it's not possible to have a battle in a dead man's brain. First of all, the battle was metaphorical. This entire fight is metaphorical. Second, this is a fantasy world. You don't get to dictate how this world works, no matter how much you want to, because it's not our world. You cannot apply the logic of Earth to the logic of Gaia. So this entire point is mute. There is no reason for you to ever complain about this entire battle. This battle is a metaphor for Cloud finally overcoming the Genova cells within him in order to defeat Sephiroth. All of this has been building up to this moment, and this metaphor for Cloud finally getting his vengeance on Sephiroth, for doing his unthinkable acts, and for finally conquering the Genova cells within his body, it's just beautiful. So don't complain about it and say that it's not realistic. Obviously, it's not realistic. It's metaphorical. Can you please figure out what that word means if you are having trouble understanding this fight ever again? I swear, just look up what metaphorical means. Now, he does bring up the notorious amount of sequels Final Fantasy VII has, and I will admit, it's a lot. Final Fantasy VII was great, but not that great. There's a PS2 game, there's a game on mobile phones only released in Japan in 2006, there was a friggin' movie, and a game on the PSP. Now, the PSP game is really good, and it's the only good one. There are a bunch of other ones, but I don't want to bring them up. Alright, so he's just moving on to the next point. Next he says, gameplay isn't anything to write home about. Dumbed down to an insulting point, the game handholds you through poorly designed linear areas, makes the magic system a brainless chore, and throws constant minigames at you that serve no purpose and ultimately just waste your time. 3 discs of pain and nothing more.
So his next major point is that he brings up how the game is linear. While yes, there are incredibly linear areas in this game, the game really opens up after Midgar, which is the main city where you spend most of the first disc. Admittedly, there's not a super amount of things you can do in this game at that point. However, later on, you'll get a submarine, you'll get a boat, you'll get a car for a while, you'll get a magic airship, oh yeah, and then you get a magic flying chicken thing. And that helps you traverse the rest of the world, and it's huge and open, and there's tons of stuff for you to go do, so don't complain about linearity. And again, the game is story-based, so linearity makes sense. And why do you have a problem with linearity exactly? You gave Final Fantasy XIII, which is essentially a hallway for 10 hours straight, a perfect 10 out of 10, and from what I saw, you didn't even bring up the linearity in that game. So yeah, what's with that? As for the magic system that he hates so much, I'm pretty sure he only hates it because it's not a very traditional magic system. Okay, so let me explain here. The magic system in Final Fantasy VII is actually quite complicated and interesting. There are these little orbs called materia, and these are filled with the life energy of the planet or whatever blah 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 story stuff. Magic time. Okay, so each orb has a unique classification. They're either a summon, a command, or a magic orb. Now, magic orbs do typical magic damage, you know, lightning, fire, ice, whatever you want to do. Summons summon a super powerful beast monster to attack your foes, and then of course command materia, which have different commands, like steel and all that. So there's that. However, what's super cool about materia is that materia levels up as you use it and as you go through battles. Meaning that when you equip a materia on a character, they'll start with just thunder. However, eventually they'll learn Thunder 3, per se. those aren't real spells, they're Bolt and Bolt 3, but whatever. They learn those spells. And the best part is if you have a character who's struggling, you can put a certain materia on a character who's doing exceptionally well, so that that character can then raise up that materia's level, and then you can pop it on that lower level character, and that character has Bolt 3. That materia permanently has that spell. It's not locked to a character. So that is super cool. Also, I want to bring up his gameplay problems, which essentially come down to he doesn't like the fact that it's turn-based. Well, I'm sorry to bring it up to you, but essentially the first 7 games keep this same battle system, with the only addition being Final Fantasy VII's limit breaks. Now, limit breaks are super moves used by all these different characters. There are a total of 8 limit breaks per character, and they're all super powerful super moves that charge up as you take damage and deal damage in combat. And they're super satisfying to pull off. You saw one during the fight between Cloud and Sephiroth called Omni Slash, and that's Cloud's Ultima limit break or whatever. So those are really cool and satisfying to pull off. I don't know why he doesn't like it. I'm so sure that he's trolling me and I just took his bait. Alright, so he does bring up the mini-games, and yes, you do have to play through all of them at least once, but I don't think it's that much of a bother. None of them really take more than 2 to 3 minutes, so it's not all that bad, but I can see where he's coming from, so I'll let that slide. He does ironically call it, though, 3 discs of pain, and for those of you that don't know, this game is 3 different discs inside of one. Disc 1, and then disc keys 2 and 3. It's split in this way because the PlayStation 1, which we covered in the first part, can't handle a game of this caliber all on one disc. So they had to split it into 3 parts, which is a lot easier to do with CDs than it is with cartridges, which is why I didn't end up on the SNES, fun fact. Oh man, this has been absolutely wonderful, just wonderful. We're finally at the end. I can't believe it. I'm so excited, I'm just gonna go. Anyway, his final point is, this game most notably has some of the most obscenely terrible quality control, as there was a debug enemy at a plot-relevant point of the game in the NTSC-J region. I only wish there could be a -1. Okay, so let's start with his first point, the bad quality control. This is true. Most people know about the line, this guy are sick, stuff like that. Yes, there were poor translations, but keep in mind, this is a JRPG released in 1997. Now back then, JRPGs weren't as immensely popular as they are now. So actually getting enough funding to do things properly was pretty hard. So I don't blame Squaresoft for having a lot of issues. Also, he brings up the fact that there's a debug enemy in a plot-relevant point of the game. Now, initially I was going to write this statement off and be like, yeah, but the original Pokemon had this too. But he does mention that it is a plot-relevant point, but alright, fine. I don't mind there being a debug enemy, it's just another enemy to slash your sword through, so I'm going to let it slide. But he does bring up fair points throughout this entire argument. Well, this is it. It's the end of the road. I'm not even going to touch the line about -1, blah, 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 I don't care. It is the end. I'm finally done with this stinking review after 40 minutes, which, by the way, for those of you that don't know, you may have seen this in about 45 minutes, take a big chunk out of your life. How do you think I feel? I've been doing this for about a month now. All the constant recording, editing, script writing, filming, all of this has taken me about a month, so it's actually really nice to finally get it off my chest. And I'm not even done yet. I still have a lot more editing to do. Anyway, I've had a really fun time doing this. This has been really cool to talk about a game that I love so much, and I'd love to get to do it more often. However, as of right now, this is all that's happening, so sorry. But I'm having a lot of fun with this, and I hope to do something similar to this in the future. If you want to see what I'm doing currently, you can always go to my Wattpad, which I will probably link in the description, and if I forget, sorry, but you can check out what I'm doing there. I'm currently on hiatus with a story that I'm writing called Magic Seed, but I promise it will pick up in probably mid-June or so look out for that. Anyway, have a nice day. I really hope you do. And just remember, like I've said in the past 2 videos, don't let my opinion shape your opinion on Final Fantasy VII, and don't let this guy shape your opinion on Final Fantasy VII. He's most likely a troll. And, well, I just look like a troll. Anyway, I'm gonna go put on some pants. Thanks for having me, everybody. Ciao.